Hey basketball players, if you're a center, this is a must-watch video for you. Today, we're going to be breaking down Shaq's 61-point game. Let's get down to the highlights and let's check out how he was able to do it. Okay, so here we have the entry pass. He is right in the middle of the key. When he gets that ball, he is looking at his defender, as we can see right there, and he's also checking out his surroundings. Who's going to be playing help defense? Now, as soon as these players started, because Shaq is an overpowering center, and some of you may be as well, they start defending him on this side. So what does Shaq do to be able to score on 3 defenders? Let's watch. He's able to spin. He notices they're all trying to guard him essentially on the same side. So how he is able to do this without having the need to pass it out to Kobe Bryant, what he's able to do is spin in the opposite direction and put up a nice finger roll towards the basket. Because he is such an overpowering player, there's not many players who could guard him in the key anyways, but with him having the knowledge and the ability to spin off of defenders and in the way of, or in the opposite way as to where the defenders really are, able to see how he is able to score. Now, the nice thing with Shaq is he's able to score so many points in the key because he's able to have the ability to pass the ball out towards the perimeter, but also to other players who are cutting. And because he's such a dominant force in the low post, he generally gets a lot of double teams. Now, if you're the type of player who is dominant like Shaq, who is able to draw a double team. Now, how Shaq is able to draw this double team right here is, watch his face. We're going to do a close-up. He is able to look. I know it's a little bit blurry, but he is watching this player right here. And by keeping eye contact with each other, he is really drawing that player in. And even myself, I do this in the low post as a guard. And by getting eye contact together with the help defender, you're now able to, in your peripheral vision, see what that defender's offensive player, your teammate, is doing. Now, this player is able to cut. His player was totally lost, and now he has an open layup. And this is what makes Shaq so good. It's not just his overpowering ability in basketball moves in the low post, but his ability to draw a double team and to know where his teammates are to get the ball to them. Now, another thing with Shaq, and this is a basketball move that you can use as well. So as we can see here, he makes contact right here, both feet on the ground, staying upright. Because he's staying upright and he's not lowering his shoulder into that player, that shows to the ref that you're not trying to commit a foul. He makes contact. Now he spins off. He drops that foot right there. Now this is an easy drop step. Now that, because of coming off of that dribble, he goes, and that's his gather step. He plants that foot. Now, coming off of that spin, that's now his pivot foot. He makes that shot fake. He gets that player up into the air. Now, watch his footwork. He makes that shot fake. Now, he lifts that pivot foot. You're allowed to lift the pivot foot. That's going to be his first and now second step. He now puts up that shot and makes the basket. And now this is all moves that you're able to do in the low post. Now watch his footwork. It is amazing. Pivot foot, shot fake, one more step, and he's able to make that basket. You're allowed 2 steps in basketball, and that is a move that you can do as well. Now, another thing with Shaq is his ability to do really quick moves, like this one. Now, if you're in the low post, you don't want to take too many dribbles, especially if you're overpowering like Shaq. As soon as he got that ball, look at that. He's got one player obviously on him defending him, but he had 2 players coming in, one from each side. Now, if he took a couple of dribbles, those players would have been hacking in, he would have been losing the ball. But he notices that, and because he's able to notice defenses and what they're trying to do against him, and obviously this is something that could be happening against you as well, is if they start double teaming or triple teaming you in the low post, you need to get quick. You get that ball. Now, he's landed both feet at the same time. He can use either foot as a pivot foot, but he goes up, quick baby hook, and off the backboard and in. And this is a move that you can do as well. Now here's another great move that he uses. Now he's going to spin off away from this defender, even though that defender isn't doing that much to him at all. He doesn't want to spin into the defense. He wants to stay away because look, if he was to spin into the key, he has one defender, two defenders, a possible third, and obviously this guy who's following that man across the key. Now, if he spins off, does a shot fake, that gets his man up into the air, and now Shaq is able to finish. Now, when that player's in the air, you could make contact into him if you were a weaker player or if you were a stronger player like Shaq, but Shaq doesn't care, he just goes in for the layup anyways. Now this next move is, again, doing a quick move, but whenever you do a quick move, let me show you in quick speed. That's a quick move. Now, whenever you do a quick move, you want to really follow your shot. You want to follow your shot no matter what. But the thing about Shaq, and maybe you as well, is maybe if you get older, or you can do this as of right now, depending on your size and your ability to dunk. But if you go in for a quick shot and you miss, like Shaq just did there, your second shot, your second option, when you get that offensive rebound, you need to go up quick and you need to go up strong. So when you go up a second time, you need to get gathered on both feet and you need to jump. You need to jump with your elbows out, and you need to go up with two hands, and then obviously smash it like Shaq if you can. Now let's see this in fast speed and fast motion so you can see how quick this move actually was. Shaq is obviously one of my favorite players, but he's an absolute killer in that low post. Another thing that you'll notice here is the fact that when he got that offensive rebound, a lot of players, especially younger players, will go down for a dribble. Do not go down for a dribble. You get an offensive rebound, you go straight back up as fast as possible and as hard and as strong as possible, especially if you can dunk like Shaq. Now here's another example of getting that offensive rebound and going up strong and fast. So Shaq here, he did a quick spin move, 1-2, and he got stripped almost, but he's strong enough to get that ball up. Now we can look at this and say, okay, he made a mistake. We can learn from this mistake. Even though he's Shaq, one of the greatest players ever, we can learn from his mistakes. When he spun, he kept the ball down too low. He needs to spin with his elbows up like this. If you're as powerful and as strong as Shaq, you cannot be making a spin move bringing the ball down here. You need to have the ball up here and keep it high. Keep your elbows out if you'd like, but now as of these days, this could constitute a foul if you're swinging through with your elbows, so you need to keep them in. But when you're spinning, keep that ball high. So shorter players like that guy, when you got it down here, can't strip you. So that is a mistake, and we just learn from it. So he spins, he almost gets stripped, but like I was mentioning before, you get that offensive rebound, and well, let's just move it back so you can see how fast and how strong he's able to throw this down. Gets almost stripped, gets it, and then smashes it. And this is the things that you need to do. You can have all the greatest offensive low post moves available to you. You can score on any defender, but how good are you at getting your own rebound or other people's rebounds and going up as strong and as fast as possible? Obviously, if you can dunk, that's great. But if you can't dunk, you still need to get that offensive rebound. You can bring it back down here to go back up, but you do not want to go back down for a dribble and go up for a layup. So that's just some food for thought, but some skills that you're going to need to have if you really want to dominate the low post like Shaq. Now here is a great example of what I was just mentioning. Now Shaq gets that ball. Now he could easily really just demolish that player, move him to the side and dunk it, but that could be constituted or called as a foul. And he doesn't want to do that nor have that happen. So he's going to spin off and watch that ball. When he spins, look, the ball is above his head, and those players right here are unable, even this one, was unable to strip that ball because he kept that ball high above his head. If he kept it low, one of those three players could have stripped him. That player's hands right here could have stripped it if it was too low. So then he goes up and goes for a nice layup or baby hook, whatever you want to call it. Now, another thing, no matter how good of a center you are or how big you are, you need to know how to run the floor. And that's something that, even though Shaq was a really big player and a really strong player, and a lot of people, fans in general, just say that he was too fat, he never ran the floor, that kind of a thing. He was a really strong player and he could run the floor and he could handle the ball. As you can see here, he was able to run the floor. Now, when he catches that ball, when he catches it, he takes one dribble. Especially if you're a big man, you don't want to take too many dribbles, especially on a fast break like this, because you're going to get players who could steal the ball. Now, the reason isn't because he was a horrible ball handler. He was actually a pretty good ball handler. But what you're going to notice is that's a very far distance to dribble the ball. Meanwhile, for a guard, they have a much shorter distance. That's why guards are generally shorter, because they have a shorter distance to dribble. But Shaq takes one dribble, gets on 2 feet, and goes up and elevates for a dunk. Now, we can take this as an example as well and say, hey, he was able to get down the court, and he didn't think. He just went one dribble and up as fast as possible for the dunk. And obviously, he's Shaq. People foul him, and because they think they can stop him, but it's not possible. Now, another thing with Shaq, obviously you need a guard or a forward who's able to make a pass like this, but Shaq is able to see where the defense is and what the defense is trying to do. So as we can see here, we have defensive players who are out of position, and if they were trying to guard Shaq, they were doing a horrible job. But Kobe Bryant, I think that's Kobe Bryant, he was able to see that, and Shaq didn't try and post up this player in front. He didn't try to go in front and try to post him up. No, he stayed behind. He did not touch him. I know a lot of times players will keep their hand on that player's back to say, hey, I'm just trying to hold him back. But what that does is, in situations like this, it lets the player know where you are. Now, you don't want to have that happen. Kobe Bryant sent up that lob, and of course Shaq just destroyed the rim. Now, this next move, this is only a quick highlight, but what we can see here is great footwork by Shaq. Now, with Shaq, he received the pass and he's already in position to do a drop step. He doesn't have to do a dribble in between his drop step. This is a quick move that even yourself can learn from, where he catches that ball, he's already on both feet when he lands. Bang. Now, of course, in a slowed down highlight, we notice that he did not have both feet down on the ground, but in the middle of a game, things are moving so fast, refs are not going to call that, but you generally want to land on both feet at the same time. He spins and he goes up for a dunk. Now, maybe you can't dunk, but you can still go in for that layup, and if you can catch that ball right there, catch that ball, spin without even a dribble, and go up for a layup by pinning that defender, going in for getting that pass, pinning the defender behind you in a way that you already beat him without having to dribble. That just shows to me as a coach, as a trainer, that you know a lot about footwork. And footwork is the main thing when it comes to low post moves. Now, by using moves like this, these are all highlights taken from the same game, the game where Shaq scored 61 points. But if you use moves like this, you also can score 61 points from the low post, because he scored every single one of those in the low post. Like, he was not a three-point shooter. Anyways, I hope that you've enjoyed. If you have, hit that like button, subscribe. Shaq is one of my favorite players of all time, and I'll see you guys in my next video.